We saw those 3 university presidents give testimony this week on before Congress. They were the presidents of MIT, Harvard, and UPenn. And they were just a hot mess. They were completely cold. They were pretty nasty. There was no empathy at all for what's happening to the Jewish students on their campuses. And they went full legal, free speech. Can't outlaw it, can't do anything about it unless it's pervasive and amounts to conduct that would equal harassment. Now, if you're talking about strict First Amendment law, that happens to be correct. However, college campuses have engaged, that are not public and do not have the state hand on top of them, have had way more restrictive free speech policies for some time now. And these 3 in particular, like Harvard, we've been covering, they're the worst in the nation when it comes to protecting free speech. Worst in the nation officially, as monitored by FIRE, which actually keeps count. And there's been tons of blowback. I've been actually kind of encouraged at how much blowback they've gotten. Here's just a sampling of what they testified to, and then we'll get to the cleanup now that's happening. SOT 7.
Dr. Kornbluth, yes. At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
Specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Elise Stefanik is so strong, and she's been praised in a lot of corners, even her detractors now praising her. But here's Claudine Gay. Claudine, you're getting fired. There's no question in my mind. You've handled this whole thing abominably from the beginning. Sorry, this was just your latest error. She comes out and tries to have yet another go at it. I'm not, you take a guess. It's basically, it's terrible to call it for genocide with all of our Jewish students on campus. Sorry, I missed that first time around. Then you've got Liz McGill of UPenn. She put out a video message, as Alan Dershowitz was saying, anything that begins with, I want to be clear, 9 times out of 10 is not clear. But here's what she said.
I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. In my view, it would be harassment or intimidation.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. She had to get browbeaten for days to get to that conclusion, Matt. I know you're as pro-free speech as I am, but look at the way they conduct their campus approach to free speech for the past 10 years versus what they're now saying.
The idea that, I answered the question because, we're tethered fully in constitutional protection and that speech can't be punished. Speech is punished on your campuses all the time.
Every day.
That's the problem. Every day it's punished. I mean, there are professors who've been on the butt end of Title IX investigations for expressing different ideas about how sexual assault rules can be prosecuted on campus. That's crazy. And those investigations, too, you can't even face your accuser. So you have these kangaroo courts that are established to absolutely prosecute free speech or punish people for their speech. FIRE, who you referenced before, used to be the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, and now they've thankfully broadened out to expression because they're taking the old ACLU position, since the ACLU has long since abdicated its role in protecting free speech. But they still maintain this emphasis. And what they will tell you is that there has been an absolutely crazy binge, a wave of speech crackdowns on college campuses over the last 10 years since 2014. I was just remembering this morning, it was 2014 when my alma mater, UC Santa Barbara, there was a gender studies professor who went up to a 16-year-old kid in the free speech zone. And the 16-year-old kid was a anti-abortion protester, and she had pictures of aborted fetuses. Right. That's what happens when you talk about abortion politics. And you see these kinds of displays all the time. It's part of the discourse about it. And this professor went up, snatched her sign, stole her property, and then went into an elevator. The kid's going, hey, that's mine. And then ripped it up and then pushed the kid, right, is at a university, and then was defended by the chancellor and by 2,000 students who signed a petition and saying that it was these outside agitators coming to our campus to try to divide us. That is the mainstream of where speech is at on college campuses. So no, she is BSing in the face of losing $100 million donors and looking bad. And I think part of this too is that the skills that you need to...
The $100 million thing did just happen. One of the donors just pulled $100 million. Keep going.
Yeah, that thing that happened today or yesterday. The skills that are required to rise to the top of the food chain in academia, they're political skills. You have to figure out how to run this incredible, crazy, impossible to understand gauntlet of like making sure you don't step on this mine over here that have to do with sort of identity politics. So you do this and you learn all kinds of jargon that is completely indecipherable by design to normal people. And by the time you get to the top, you've mastered this thing, and it gives you the opposite of political skills when trying to talk to the rest of humanity. And that's what we saw this week. And it was glorious, actually, to watch how badly that their language, their styles, their way of trying to police and crack down on speech looks when read to normal Americans. And I appreciate that comeuppance.
Well said. Well said, Liz. The absurdity of their position is, if you took any other group and you said, okay, so there's a bunch of like KKK students somehow made their way into Harvard or UPenn or MIT and gathered in like mass throngs outside of the dorms and walked across campus chanting, "We need to kill all blacks. Blacks have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. All the blacks have got to go." I'm sure their testimony in front of Congress would have been exactly the same. Oh, exactly the same. Like we're committed to free speech and hate speech. It takes a lot. You got to add in conduct in order for us to have a problem. Oh, bull.
It's profound hypocrisy. And frankly, I'll just level with you guys. I'm angry that it's taken a decade for some of these big donors to realize what we all knew was happening. I'm sorry, I went to college from 2014 to 2016. It was abundantly clear to me as an 18 and 19 and 20-year-old what was happening then. I started publishing in my campus newspaper, and the amount of just astonishing ire, this sort of like interest in censoring people and this total disinterest in creating a legitimately classically liberal speech permissive environment. I mean, it was profound. You saw this in the wake of the Ferguson, Missouri, like the sort of earlier wave of police brutality related protests. I mean, why is it that it's taken these donors 10 years to pay attention to this thing that's happening? And in the meantime, what has happened is DEI administrators have been paid astonishing sums of money to do God knows what. I mean, basically codify a system of ensuring that kids in their orientation classes, and I shouldn't say kids, I should say adults, because these are 18-year-olds and those are adults and under US law. But, putting them into all these orientation workshops where they're taught about the importance of sensitivity and policing microaggressions. And, when a controversial campus speaker like Barry Weiss, who was shouted down literally this week at the University of Texas at Austin, when one of those speakers is present, there's this expectation from adults on these campuses that they have access to a little safe space room with pillows and the ability to blow bubbles and maybe, a trained therapist on site to process their feelings. It was always totally unacceptable. It was totally unacceptable in 2013 and 2014, and it's totally unacceptable now. It is so profoundly angering that it took student groups using Hamas paragliders as poster art to actually drive home this point to people who should have been the adults in the room.
Here is that incident that happened to Barry Weiss that you just referenced a couple days ago, SOT 10. Look at this. University of Texas. This is a Jewish woman. She's an American Jewish woman in America trying to give her perspective. And she's got some problems with the massacre of the Jews. And this is what they do to her. But thankfully, they did have security on hand, and those people got the boot. They got booted right out of there. They would have loved to have silenced her. Yeah, it's infuriating. And it's not just happening on these college campuses. It's the Christmas and holiday season, everyone. Time for gift giving, parties with friends and family, and getting compliments everywhere you go, looking years younger thanks to Genocide. From now through Christmas, Genocide's most popular package is more than 70% off at Genocide.com. Treat yourself and a loved one to the absolute best skincare in the world. See those troubling forehead wrinkles, fine lines, skin redness, pesky bags and puffiness, and even a sagging jawline disappear with Genocide's most popular collection. With its immediate effects product, see results in less than 12 hours, guaranteed, or you get your money back. Plus, included in every one of their most popular packages is a free hyaluronic acid serum. Totally great. You need this, especially this time of year, for skin hydration that will restore your youthful appearance. Visit Genocide.com/MK60 right now, and you just enter my special promo, MK60, to get an additional 10% off your entire order. Every order today instantly upgraded to free express shipping. Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.